Hi everybody, and welcome back to Sticks and Stones Wood Carving. I'm Kevin, and today we're going to take a regular piece of sycamore log and we are going to make a wood spirit on it. This was a request from somebody who wanted to see a little bit more wood spirits, but on regular wood, not on cottonwood. So I'm going to use my Kutzall disc here, and the great thing about these Kutzall discs, Kutzall, I always mispronounce it, is what you can do with it besides just clearing the wood off. I'm going to clear the wood off here, and then I'm going to show you a quick way to get your wood spirit started, all using the Kutzall disc here. And it cuts your time down pretty good. So let's clear this off. I use this disc a lot. I've already made Native Americans, giant logs I've done, chainsaw carvings, and believe it or not, I've carved a quarter of the carving with just this disc. For instance, let me show you here. Don't mind the camera shaking a little bit, it's right next to me. But you know, I'm starting to form the eye sockets, and not only am I facing the log off here, getting that bark off and getting down to better wood, but I'm actually starting to shape my carving. You can hold this disc on its side, and it'll do the job really fast for you instead of having to take all that time with your chisels or your Dremel, whatever you're using. So I use the Kutzall disc a lot for stuff like this, and might have to do a video and see how far we can actually get, but let me show you just how much I can start this guy just using this disc. And again, this is a piece of sycamore log. It's not the best, you know, it's got its cracks running through it and stuff, but it'll be good for doing this video, I think. See what we can come up with, if we can come up with a decent wood spirit. See, I already got the eyes shaped here. Let's even give him a little bit of a mouth. And this saves me a lot of time with the Dremel, since I'm not using a chainsaw in this video for anything. And we'll shape a little bit of a bottom lip. Just hold it on its side and rub, and you can take a lot of that wood down pretty quick and actually start shaping your design. Okay, we're gonna end up using our Kutzall Extreme bit on this guy, and I think we're not gonna give him a mustache, we're just gonna give him a regular face with a lip. So here's the Kutzall Extreme. This is pretty aggressive. They'll take a lot of wood off quick, but we're gonna have to draw some quick eyebrows on and stuff first. Let me get my marker out here, and I'll try to fast forward where I can through this video to make it less tedious for you guys. I'm just gonna give myself a little bit of an idea of what I want to do, and then I'm gonna take my Kutzall Extreme flame bit here, and we're gonna carve those eyebrows out quick and give us a good starting point. And we'll smooth it down and up and into that cut that we made. I'm only using a Dremel 3000 here. I'd like to use a more powerful one, but I want to pretty much make the point that you can use whatever you have. It doesn't have to be a super fancy Dremel. I mean, I've carved plenty of these with a Dremel 200, but the bits will do the same job. Okay, you just got to take your time in spots sometimes. I mean, sycamore is no joke. It's almost like carving ash. And we're going to just cut this out. It might chatter a little bit because the Dremel speed really isn't up to par for what I'm used to. And it's a harder wood, but that's okay. We'll get through it. And after I make those lines, I'm going to smooth up into them. And we'll give him some sockets and bags here before we start putting any eye designs in there. Any details. Let's take some wood out here for the nose. Yeah, I could use a little bit more power, but that's okay. I mean, it seems to be cutting fine. A lot of times I rush it too. The point is, you don't need to have cottonwood bark in your area. I know we do a lot of these tutorials with cottonwood bark. It's just a pleasure to carve, and if you got some laying around, you might as well use it. But I mean, I started for years just carving any piece of wood I found. Okay, so Just because you don't have cottonwood bark doesn't mean you can't do the same thing in all the tutorials that we're doing here on the channel. Alright, we're going to shake this nose out a little bit. I like to put 2 lines down and right here, and then I'll shape my nostrils. Just by pushing that bit in until I get the shape I want. This also kind of flares them up a little bit when you do it this way. So they're really easy to see when you're looking at the carving head on. And I like to extend the wings of the nose down and under a little bit. And then we'll come around and smooth that out. Just going to keep smoothing here and keep shaping until I get the shape of the nose that I want. You can use the tip of that bit to actually draw a little circle inside and then kind of smooth that down too. Doesn't have too much of a point on this bit. When I want a little bit more of a point, I'll go to my typhoon bit, but that'll work. Okay, now let's draw an eyelid in here. We'll give him a pupil. It's pretty much just a football shape with a circle in the middle. Okay, they don't have to be super even. You want to make them the same size, but they don't have to be shaped the same. That'll give them a different expression. So, and then I'll add another line underneath that for a bag. Okay, so pretty quick and simple. We better change this bit. If I want to cut these in, I'm going to switch to the cone bit from Dremel. This is a cone-shaped bit, and I like to etch my lines in right from the start so I don't lose them. It'll burn it in a little bit, and I'll give it a little bit of a depth, but not much. But I have more control over it than trying to use the big Cutzel Extreme or even my Typhoons. A little bit too big to cut these lines, okay? So I usually go to a smaller Dremel bit to do this. And then we can shape those as we go with different tools. But I like to etch my lines in so I don't lose them. Everybody has their preference. You don't have to do this. It's a good way to start carving your eye. And then you can get your other tools, whether it be chisels, knives, or whatever you're using, and take the eye down more. Like as we start carving these, I know I'm going to have to get my knife and round off the eyeball. But for now, I'm just using the cone bit. And again, it's from Dremel. Any tools I'm using, you can always visit my, go into the description down there and go into my Amazon storefront. You'll be able to find them there. If they're not there, shoot me a message. I'll make sure I get them in there for you. That's all I'm really doing here is setting these lines in. And then I'm shaving it down with the side of the bit. Okay. Now, like I said, I'm going to have to round these mounds off here and get them underneath the eyelid on the top and push it down and into the eyelid on the bottom. I'm going to clean up the eyelids underneath and on top also with my knife while I'm here. I'm going to just round that eye off. We don't want them sticking out past those lines. A little bit of playing with the knife. You can use a small skew chisel for this also. And I'm just taking wood out from underneath those eye bags. Taking the corners down here some. Make them go into our stop cut. And smoothing out the eye and trying to get it round. Now around here on the nose, this is kind of tough with a knife on a piece of sycamore or ash. Alright, so it'll take a bunch of cuts. So we'll do this side right here to get our shadow with our knife by doing stop and removal cuts. Just like so. And you'll see that deep line starting to set that nose in pretty good. What we'll do is use this side. I'll show you another Cutzel bit I like. This is the Cutzel tapered bit. Okay, it's another extreme bit, very coarse, good for heavy wood removal. It's got a long, fine point on it. Watch how this sucker gets in there and really takes that wood out. And it's a lot skinnier, so you can get in tighter places. Okay, now I'm going to reinforce the other side we did with our knife so they're even. So you can do it either way. You can do it with your knife, or you could use this bit. You could use your cuts all extreme. I'm going to use this, and I'm going to try and get up underneath them eyelids. And again, I'll keep cleaning up around the eye and taking that wood down a little bit at a time. A very light touch here because I want to keep the shape of my eye. But anything that's a little too high, I'm going to take down, like underneath the bag here. We want our bag to stick out. I try to get as much done with whatever bit I'm using, whatever's in my Dremel at the time, whatever's in my hand. I'll go around in places of the carving and jump back and forth and try and get as much done with it as I can before I have to switch bits again. So that's why I'm going over to the side, from one side to the next, and doing what I can with it. And if it's going to serve the purpose for what I need, I'll use it for that. I have other plans for the eyes up here, but we're not going to really sink these in too deep in this carving. We're just going to try and come up with a decent little wood spirit, just on a log. And you'll get to see what type of bit you can use, and maybe get a couple of ideas on the way. Still trying to work these eyes a little bit, and I figure this bit right here, since it's so pointy, it'd be great to poke some irises in there. Now when you do this, you do want to recut from the eyelid to the hole, and from the hole to the eyelid, or just going straight across the top, so they don't just have two holes in the middle of nowhere. You definitely want to blend them up into the eyelid a little bit. You might have to use another tool for that, but that's what I did there. Now I'm going to come up here. I'm going to cut a little bit of a forehead in. Still using the same bit. This is the tapered bit. And I got a flex shaft attached to a Dremel 3000 today. Not the most powerful Dremel, but it's not stopping us from making our wood spirit either. Brush them off a little bit. And what do we got? It doesn't look too bad. We could play with that more later on. Well, I still have this bit, and I want to make some deep lines coming down here on the sides of his face. And we can form a mouth there, the top lip and everything. We want to keep that rounded, so I'm going to use the bit while it's in the Dremel. I'm going to make some lines on the side just like this, give them those smile lines. That'll be enough to start forming that mouth mound that we need. Just push that wood from the inside to the cut you just made. Come up here from the bottom and do the same thing. Alright, that'll start sitting out. I'm going to start rounding this lip off a little bit. This bit definitely has its purpose for digging in, like right here in the corners. Because of its long point, it's pretty useful for a lot of stuff. So just dig in and get under the mouth there a little bit, and then I'll blend it over into the corners here, because we want that bottom lip to appear to go up and under. Of course, that top. Right under here, we'll probably angle that later on, but we're going to use the Cutzel Extreme Flame Burr for that. And we're going to take some wood off the bottom here, kind of angle it and round it downwards and under that lip a little bit. So just kind of push it down. Don't go all the way up to the top, but just a little from the bottom here, and kind of push that downward at an angle going towards your piece. And then start shaping that bottom lip. I think we're going to give this guy some teeth, so I'm going to leave this part pretty big. I know it looks like he has a huge bottom lip, but we're actually going to add another cut or two, and we're going to give him some teeth, so we'll make this guy a happy wood spirit. And make sure you blend after you do that. Keep your corners clean. And start coming from the top down and push into that cut. Very little, very slight, but you do want to round downwards so we get that appearance that that's actually insinuating an upper lip, and then blend that all over. Blend it together. Round off the corners, you don't want any jagged edges. You take a little bit of more wood out on the corners. It goes pretty quick with these carving bits. You really can't beat it when you're using power. Make sure you're wearing a mask and eye protection. I also like to blow a fan when I'm outside so all the dust goes away from me. If you don't have a fan, use a dust collector if you're doing it inside. Now I'm doing secondary smile lines here. This will give it a neat effect. I'm just making one cut down, and then I'm coming from the top and blending into that cut, and from the bottom again and blending into that cut. And that'll give them a little bit more detail, a little bit more interesting look to them. And again, while it's in my hand, I'm going to clean up what I can and take more wood down and blend in up at the top here and any other cuts that I've made. Any place I can use the bit. Now right here, we're just going to make a cut, a nice little U shape, and keep digging in and underneath it a little bit until we form another mound that we'll make teeth out of. Make it deep in the corners and undercut it some. There, now we have something to form teeth out of. Now I'm going to redraw my lines here, because I really don't like to lose them once I start. I'm not going to make perfect eyes on this guy. We're going to make it, again, like I said, a quickie, but he'll be good enough to sell, and he should be interesting to look at. I'm going to draw a couple of lines straight down to bust up those teeth. That'll give him some teeth, and we'll give him a little bit of beard down here. We'll bring it down to about there. He's starting to shape up pretty good. He doesn't look too bad. Now I'm going to a little bit pointier bit. This is my Typhoon bit, because it is a little pointier than the Cuts All Extreme, the flame burr. And this is a flame-shaped burr too, but like I said, it's a little pointier. I'm going to take the eyes down a little bit more and dig in the corners. Get me a little bit more shadow. Like I said, we don't want this sticking out past those eyelids, either on the top or on the bottom. So we have to take that wood down. Now I'll reinforce his bags a little bit with it. Just basically doing the same thing over and over as I switch tools and making sure I'm not losing any of my detail. Just trying to reinforce it as I go. I'm going to use this same bit here, kind of laying it on its side. And I'll do some random tufts of hair to give me an idea about where I want to put the beard. And I'll clean all that bark off with it here. Not really cutting too super deep. Just getting a lot of that surface wood off so we can form some hair. I'm just laying it on its side kind of a little bit. Making lazy S shapes coming upwards and then going back down on the other side, trying to make it all pretty symmetrical and forming a point in the center. You can deepen those lines by the smile lines and on the corners of the mouth with it. I'm just cleaning up as I go. Don't have to go too nuts with hair. I'm going to use the same bit here to just put some eyebrows in, his eyebrow lines. I'm trying to clean up. Brush it off again. I'm trying to get into the mouth a little bit better in the corners and reinforce the lines in the teeth. And by undercutting a little bit, it'll make them stand out pretty good. It's all about shadows, so get in those corners pretty good. Now we're going to take our steel ball from Dremel. We're going to fast forward through this, and I'm going to go through everything and smooth everything over, give them a little extra very light detail. But I'm going to make sure that I smooth everything down. This is my chance to take the eyes down so they're pretty even, at least with the eyelids, because we don't want them sticking past them. And I'm going to go over the teeth, and I'll smooth up the nose, and then the nostrils, wherever it needs some smoothing. And I like to do some light lines. I call these light wrinkles. And I use this bit, see these lines I'm putting in the forehead here. Those are wrinkles, but they're not hard lines, but they do have texture, and they actually show up when you're looking at them, so it gives him light wrinkles and a little extra detail. So that's what I like to use this bit for, besides cleaning the whole carving. Okay, I'm going back to my cone shape bit here. I'm going to try and darken everything I just did and do some final tune-ups here. Again, I'm just following the same lines. I could probably put a little bit more wrinkles in these big eye bags I put in this guy, and I could round the eyeballs off better and really make them nice. But I don't want the video to be too long. It's already almost 30 minutes long where it is, so I'm just going to go around with the cone bit, and I'm giving them little crow's feet and undercutting some of the wrinkles and lines that I put in. You can go through all your beard hair with this and give it a little bit of harder look, and the teeth you can reinforce. It's a good bit to reinforce all of the lines you've already cut in, and it'll make burn marks and give you some good shadows where you didn't have it. I'll give a couple wrinkles there in the lip. Yeah, it doesn't look too bad. Okay, so this right here, I'm going to have to sand him down yet. I don't know if I'm going to paint him or not. Maybe I'll just sand him and I'll put a stain on him or whatever. So that's pretty much what I'm coming up with. Let's sand him down, and I'll give you a final result after I sand him, and we'll see what he looks like. So we'll clean him up here, and there we go. That's what we come up with. I hope you enjoyed this video. Join me in the next one, and I will see you then. Thanks for watching, everybody.